Hello for the 25th week in Ordinary Time, the Gospel and the first reading. And I'd like to talk about, I call this, It Ain't Fair. I'd like to talk about the Gospel and the laborers and getting paid and so forth. But to do this, there are some rules. There's 4 rules. Rule number 1 is don't think about all those poor suckers who worked all day in the heat of the day and the sweat of their brow, and they came in at the end of the day and the landowner gave them a day's pay. And the lucky son of a guns who came in only worked 1 hour, and they came in at the end of the day, and the landowner gave them a full day's pay. Wow. Don't think about that. Rule 2. You can think about justice. Justice is in this situation, or this story, of Jesus. It's only a story. It didn't happen. He didn't do that. He didn't know a landowner. He just told this story. And it has to do with justice. He gave each person a just day's pay. Period. That's rule number 2A. 2B is, you can think about generosity, and I hope you do. It's just a story Jesus told about generosity, and he wanted to compare it to something. And so, generosity. This landowner agreed for $10.10 an hour, Obama, and at the end of the day, 8 hours, he would give them $80.80. And the ones who came in at the very end and worked only 1 hour, he was so generous and felt sorry for them. And he gave them $80.80 for 1 hour's work. Wow. What a generous landowner. That's 2B. That's rule number 2. Rule number 3. You can only think about the kingdom of God, the history of the kingdom of God. Well, quickly put, there's the prehistory. There's the history beginning with Abraham, 1800 BC. There's the coming and dealings of Moses, 1250 BC. There's all the prophets in the kingdom of God, and they preached relatively 800 to 400 BC. And there was the birth of Christ in the kingdom of God. Well, we think he was born between 6 and 4 BC. Some say he started his preaching 27 to 29 AD. And he was crucified 30 to 36 AD. That's the presence of the kingdom of God, which Jesus spoke about so often. Rule number 3, just think about the kingdom of God. Rule number 4. Rule number 4 is, now we're going to compare the kingdom of God to this story, this parable that Jesus told about the landowner. And it goes like prehistory, that's all the time before Abraham. The dawn of the history of the kingdom of God is Abraham and his family, 1800 BC. Going out at the 9th hour is sort of like Moses, 1250 BC. The landowner goes out at noontime, sort of like 800 to 400 BC. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the early Christian, or the early Jewish community. 5 o'clock, Jesus is born. Jesus and his family and his peers and his upgrowing. And at 6 o'clock, Jesus is crucified. He dies on the cross and rises on Easter Sunday morning. It's the payoff time. It's the time when Jesus gives the $80.80 to the shortest timed worker. You know, all this is unbelievably generous. Beautiful in the story that Jesus is so generous that he gives his work and calls all people to salvation when he dies on the cross, when he rises on Easter Sunday morning. It's so hard to grasp. He's so generous and so good. It's too good to be true. He loves everybody. The people who worked all day, the people at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the people who came for the payoff at 6. That's what the kingdom of God is like historically. It doesn't make any difference if you were way back when, or Johnny or Sally come lately. You get the full benefits of Jesus Christ. It's too good to be true that he loves all of us. In generosity, he saves all of us, no matter when we come upon the scene, or no matter how long or short we live. That's the way God is. That's the way God works. If you need a little help, well, to go to the first reading, Isaiah 55, and it says two things here. One is Isaiah speaking for God. He's the prophet. Let the scoundrel forsake his or her ways, and the wicked his or her thoughts. Let him or her turn to our God, who is generous, and forgiving. And then finally, in the same passage, Isaiah speaking for God, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor your ways my ways. Our God is so generous, not only just, but so generous, so giving, so forgiving, it's almost too good to be true. But it isn't. It's very true. It's the basis of our faith. Have a good day.